I've been living in Japan for a long time now. Got to this point where I thought, okay, well, I need to, do I stay here, forever, or do I go home? And I've kind of always been living in this sort of, I don't know, like temporary feeling. Like when I first came here as a student, I knew I was going back after a semester, and then I came for work, and that was only a few years. And then I came for this job, and I wanted to get a rug, but just, I kept telling myself I'm not going to be here for, more than 2 or 3 years, so why get a rug? And 4 years went by, and I always kind of just wished that I just had bought a rug. It's so weird, but I just always have been living in this temporary kind of mindset. And so last year, when we had lived at our last place for just about 4 years, we were kind of running out on our contract at that place, and we thought, okay, this is the right time to find a new place. If I'm gonna live here for a while, and that's, let's get a place. Cause actually I had heard that you can get a place, buy a place, and have a mortgage that is lower per month than rent. And you have a whole house. And so I thought, okay, well, there's nothing to lose there, so let's do it. That was my mentality going into this thing. So I thought, okay, you know what? Let's see what's out there. So this is my spread of just information. All the information, or part of the information, on that journey that kind of took us to where we are right now. So where do you start? So I loved and hated looking for places, because when you go and look at a place online, there's so many categories to search for. You search for how close it is to a station, whether it has, garage or not, if you have pets or not, how big the veranda is, new place, an old place, what kind of a kitchen. You want to have like a gas kitchen or a electric kitchen. There's so many different factors, and so I had no idea where to start. And so we went to SUUMO is one place you can go to online. It's a website. And then the other place is like a place called Homes or something. There are a whole bunch of them out there. It's basically this kind of information. So it's one page basically on a new listing, and we look through dozens, if not hundreds, of different listings. And it just kind of, numbs your mind out. You start checking off these boxes of things that you think are good, and then you go and see it, and they're just they're bad. And so I always kind of wish that we could just search by mood, just kind of the feel of the place, but obviously you can't do that until you get there, and so you're stuck with these. How big of a place can you buy? After looking for not too long, I realized, okay, the minimum is 300,000 USD. The reason is that, okay, it is a lot of money, but the Japanese system of paying back a loan is usually a 35-year loan. And so if you have a huge time period to pay that back, monthly payments are actually not too bad. And not too bad for us is about, 1,000 USD to 1,500 USD. And all these properties that I'll show you are about that amount of money. And the first one I already kind of mentioned, so I'll just go next. But yeah, there's so many, and all these they're great, and some of them are just so disappointing. And you think that with this kind of a price, you get something so much better, but this is what you get. And I kind of, you're gonna need to see the pictures. You need to go online, go check out SUUMO, see for yourself. But what I'm gonna tell you, okay, 300,000 USD gets you a place that's 55 meters squared, 64 meters squared, 56 meters squared, 50, 57. What is this? 54. You kind of get the idea, right? So you're going 50 to 70 meters squared in Tokyo Setagaya ward, by the way, which is kind of higher end. So it's going to be more expensive, but 50 meters squared is not that much. Coming from the U.S., from Minnesota, that is tiny. You get nothing for 50 meters squared. But trust me, that is the most that you're gonna get, 50, 60 for this price in this part of Tokyo. Okay, so we've got kind of like how big it is. Pets, almost forget about it. Like it's gonna be really hard to find a place that'll allow for a pet at this price level. It's so difficult. Second, okay, what else we got here? Distance from the station. Now this kind of it's all over the map, but for 300,000 US dollars, you can find a place that is maybe 3 to 8 minutes away from the station. I know there's a place actually that is just down the street from where we are living now, which is 13 minutes from the station. That is 450,000 USD, and it's 8 minutes. Yeah, so it's 8 minutes from the station, and it's $450,000, but it's a lot more spacious. So yeah, all those factors, but our budget was 300 to 350, and 350, I didn't want to spend that much money, but 350. Anyway, so we looked at apartments. So what else? When it was built. So when an apartment was actually built plays hugely into its value. So in Japan, unlike the States, the value of a property just goes down. Like there's no value that is gained from a property that it gets older. Because I know that people will invest in a property in the US and then property values go up and then you sell and you make money, right? Okay, that might apply to land, but that does not apply to the building on top of the land at all. I have seen so many places get razed just for the dirt beneath it. And the place was perfectly, by my standards, livable, but they just demolished it and they built like a parking lot because that parking lot was more valuable for later, obviously. But that is the kind of market that Tokyo is as far as real estate. The dirt is really, really valuable. I mean, okay, it was a $200,000 house on a $2 million plot of land. That was the big one that surprised me. Okay, so when were they built and why does that matter? Well, Japan also has earthquakes. I don't know if you remember that, but it would be so cool if there was an earthquake right now, by the way. No? So earthquakes, and over the years they've kind of developed new ways to build that have improved. And so the older the property, the older the building standard, which means the more unsafe that property is. And so the more unsafe that property is, the less value it has over others that are newer. And so as I understand it, anything built before 1986 is considered an old and unstable building. Although they won't say unstable, and honestly, it's probably not that bad. But anything newer than that, in 1987 and onward, is a new kind of building code that is much more stable, and the value of the building is actually higher. So this is kind of the balance. So if you actually are planning to stay in this place for a long period of time, the cool thing about a place that's older than 1986 is that you can get it for a little cheaper and then modify it, however you want. And you know that, okay, you're not going to get that value back. But if you live in there for long enough, you could sell it for a little bit, and then your monthly payments are actually cheaper. So there's kind of like, this, it could be worth it, But if you are planning to resell, which as much as I was like, okay, I'm buying to stay here for a long time, I kind of kept thinking in the back of my mind, you might maybe, leave the country sometime. And so I thought, okay, no, we're not going to look at a place that's older than 1986. We're going to 1987 and above. And that obviously changes the game. There's a lot different price range for that. So we talked about distance from the station, how wide it is, pets. We talked about how old the place is. Is there anything else that is here? Not really. First floor, fourth floor, those kind of differences. Usually first floor apartments are not as sought after in Japan, and so you can sometimes get those for a little bit better price, even if it's actually a little bit more spacious. But it's just kind of, people are still worried about theft and robbery, even though personally it's not that big of a deal. Japan, you're actually a very, very safe country. On that note, by the way, just a side kind of thing, I left my computer on a table in Starbucks as I went to use the bathroom, came back and it was still there. my computer, laptop on the desk. It's crazy. But yeah, I love that one. But this one was a little bit too much for me. That was close to $450,000. This was one of the very few that would get a pet there. I don't know. This is this. Go check it out. See what you can get for that kind of whatever your price range is. This was what is this? It's a 2 LDK. So for $300,000 at that area of a place, so 50 to 70 meters squared is usually like a 2 LDK-ish size. So you got if you saw my other video, you got living, dining, kitchen, room, and then you have 2 other bedrooms, right? You have 2 other rooms. Yeah. So I think this is a 3 LDK, which was really, really nice. I really like that one. But this was a little bit older. I remember that was an older building. So the price was okay. Oh my gosh, there's so many. And this was it's so exhausting. You go to see a realtor, and some of them are just amazing. You know, your realtors, we saw like 6 or 7 or 8 of them because we're trying to find a good one. And there was one that we liked. You know, he was just like our go-to guy, and he was so friendly and upbeat, and he was always like so helpful with us, and you could just tell he wanted to make this work, and we were just like, yes, please make this work. And max for us, maximum was 4 locations in a day. We couldn't see more than that. It was just too exhausting. I don't know how people do this, but we would just go in the morning, they had a car, and we would just hop in their car, and they would take us to 4 different locations. You walk out, you look at the location, okay, great, next. And then you kind of, you have a pep talk afterwards. What did you like? What didn't you like? And they kind of use that to make, okay, hone in on something the next time you meet. And yeah, so he was just like, we were always just like, oh man, I wonder what he's going to bring, for us this next time. Like, this is an example. Like, he kind of prepped one of these for us. And yeah, like, we went to see all 4 of them. We was like, it was great, but none of them kind of, made it in our top. It never like, we're like, this is it, What is it for people that have home shopped and you found a place? Did you ever have that like, oh, this is it, this is where we want to live kind of moment? Because I don't know, we kept looking for that. But yeah, we would go to see this guy probably once every 2 weeks. And we were kind of on a schedule. So like I mentioned earlier, the place that we were living at before had a contract, right? And so we were living in this place that was set to renew as, say, October. And there was a few more months until October came up. And if you left a month before October, there was no renewal fee. Cancellation fee, sorry. There's no cancellation fee. And so we thought, okay, well, we'll find a place and then hopefully kind of time it right, so that we could get out without any kind of cancellation fee. In retrospect, that was just a terrible idea, and it was so much stress because you just kind of like, you wait and you wait and you wait until the perfect thing comes along, and in that last month, you're just like, you're panicking. It's like, okay, we can't find anything. What do we do? What's next week? Let's go today, tomorrow, anything, like now, and it was so much stress, so I don't recommend it. Just pay the cancellation fee. So if you find a place, pay the cancellation fee, move. I can't stress that enough. Oof. But we tried. And our friend the realtor tried too. And oh man, this place. This place was the best. $350,000. A 9th floor, so it had the very top floor, had a roof terrace, pets, okay. It was kind of like this corner room with a nice tatami room. It was a 3 LDK next to a park. I don't think I'm ever going to forget this place. I wish I could tell you we were living there right now, but we're not. How much time does it take from the time you find a place that you like to the time you can move in? And we discovered it was going to take about a month. And we discovered that when we had about, 2 or 3 months left. And so you can kind of guess that about 2 or 3 months before our contract was running out on our old place, we were in panic mode. Like every single weekend. It was such a stressful time. I think I seriously lost those 3 months of my life and never getting them back. The whole process, and there's kind of like, I don't know, maybe I can take a picture of this. It's a long process of applying for the place, approved for the loan, you sign the contract, you get the keys, and you finally move in. That's the whole process. But it takes so freaking long. We started to panic and said, you know what? Forget it. We're not going to buy a place. We're going to rent. Aren't you just exhausted? I was really exhausted. So if you're exhausted, just imagine. I mean, and we were doing this in Japanese. And so when you start looking for places online to rent, it's a little bit different. Apartments that you rent typically aren't maintained as highly. So it's not like someone moved out and then they redid the inside to sell it again. It's like, it's usually just, sold as is, rented as is. And so you just have to set your bar lower. And then you say, okay, and that was hard for us because we were looking at these amazing places where you could have monthly payments for $1,000, and then you go to rent a place for the same price, and it's just crap. After looking at 100, 200 different places, you'll see there's a certain shape that most apartments in Japan are built, and it's like big room, little room, little room. And that's just how it's. So you walk in to kind of like, there's a toilet, and then a bathroom, and then there's kind of like the living, dining, kitchen, and then like bedroom, and then over here's like the veranda going outside, which is usually just a tiny little thing. But they're all like that. We just walked in, no. You set your standards lower and lower and lower, or you find some place that's even further away. We took that route. We looked at places that were pretty far from the station. But because of that, prices go down. And so you can find a place like ours that's pretty spacious by Japanese standards, and the price is right, and it's built later than 1987, and it has 3 gas burners. That was really hard to find, and it's close to work. I went through the loan process, got approved even, but in the end we decided that it just wasn't where we wanted to go at that moment. I have a lot of information that I can share with you if you want to have some more detailed discussions. Leave a comment below, and I'll answer that, or maybe I'll answer that in a text, or maybe another video. From Tokyo, Japan, Midwest and the Far East,